I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for Investment Pitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Parker McCurley, co-founder and CEO of the Web3 venture studio, Decent Labs. Parker, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time today.
Thanks so much for having me, Ashton.
You're very welcome. Let's jump right into it. I'd love to start with why Decent Labs, and tell us a little bit about Decent Labs, the value and the philosophy behind the venture studio.
Absolutely. So Decent Labs was founded in 2017 during the first kind of big Ethereum bull run where decentralized projects were getting off the ground. I think both founders had a lot of frustration with what had happened in 2008 in the financial crisis and how centralized authorities had made a mess of our financial system time and time again, which led our interest in cryptocurrency. So between the way that open source software has an ability to empower individuals and unite communities, and the problem of centralized financial systems and how predatory and dangerous they can be for individuals, cryptocurrency really attracted us. And we've been building in the space now for almost 5 years.
Amazing. Great to hear. And being a Web3 venture studio, I'm curious on your biggest distinction between Web3 investments and regular Web2 investments, and if there's anything specific you're looking for in that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've worked on a lot of different types of projects over the years. So we've been, the whole gamut from startups that are building, centralized companies and software that leverages cryptocurrency, all the way to, fully decentralized and open source Web3 projects. And I think the biggest difference that I've seen in Web3 that's most tangible is the speed. So the speed at which projects are getting off the ground, the speed at which they're scaling through communities and social media, and the speed in which, finance comes into play, both from a funding perspective, from a liquidity perspective, and from the ability to incentivize people to contribute to the project. So I think that's why overall for our venture studio, we're seeking not to create and deploy new companies, but to create and deploy new communities online.
I really like that saying, Parker. And good to know about the speed. Of course, everyone seems to know that cryptocurrency moves really fast, and speed, of course, is important, and timing just as important with bringing out something that's not too innovative and ahead of its time, but right at the right time as this exponentially growing industry continues to explode, especially in DeFi throughout 2021. But speaking of speed and teams that are delivering their projects at speed, when you're looking at investing through the venture studio into new startups in Web3, I'm guessing speed is one of those factors, but maybe you can talk about the other factors as well that in which you determine how to make an investment.
Yeah, that's a great question. And we're actually working on a tool to help with this, both from a builder and investor perspective called Satori, which is an analytics platform for the Ethereum blockchain and other EVM-based networks. And basically, I think what's important to me has always been usage. So in 2017, there were a lot of projects I saw that had a lot of hype around them and a lot of financial interest from investors, but I didn't understand technical value or a use case. And so in the long term, a lot of those projects, even if they were highly valued early on, have sort of withered away over time. In contrary, I've seen a lot of projects that early on, don't receive a lot of hype, don't receive a lot of interest from investors, but there's some strong fundamentals in the technology behind it. And with the right team backing, I've seen over the course of years, those projects really flourish. So, I don't make a ton of investments outside of the work that we build ourselves here at Decent. But when I do, it's usually because we've identified a technology that is very valuable and we can use it ourselves. And when we find ourselves using something in order to create other decentralized applications, it's safe to say that that protocol or tool is being used by other people. And that's usually a nice way that I use to guide investments in technology outside of what we're producing within our venture studio.
Yeah, very well said. And I think a lot of people that use products should, if they're using a product every day or something that's a necessity, they should be investing in that as well. Because
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's sort of like the entrepreneurial journey where you had a problem, you solve it yourself, and then you're like, hey, this is a great idea because I'm actually using this, right? And there's going to be usage, and it has value because you're using it yourself. So now I want to dive into, thank you for that information about, deciding the factors in which to invest. Now moving into the actual fundraising, I saw that there's some differences with your Web3 studio in on-chain fundraising versus like traditional VC fundraising. Maybe you can talk about those differences.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think, obviously right now it's really popular to hate on venture capital. And there's a lot of ways to improve, the way that our industry in the technology industry works. But there are also a lot of benefits to raising venture capital, including the access to sophisticated minds who've seen companies grow before and can help you grow yours. So I think when we're looking at the interface of VC and Web3, we want to both, create a level playing field and allow individuals and institutions the same access to investment, but also continue to hold ourselves to a standard that when you're capitalizing a project, you're looking for partnership and support and assistance, the way that sophisticated investors are able to offer. And so I think at a bare minimum, the benefit of on-chain fundraising is that you're getting an equal and transparent deal to anyone participating, right? There's no backroom conversation. However, remembering that these are still individuals participating, I think we have a lot of work to do as a space in terms of figuring out how do we allow sophisticated investors and builders to participate that we want to play a role in the growth of a DAO or the growth of a decentralized project. And how do we want to create fully, completely open financing opportunities the way that we see in like crowdfunding today. So I think that both play a role in our space that are super important, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of building systems that support multiple levels and types of investors.
Definitely, Parker, and I completely agree with that. And it's funny that some of these tech innovators that are raising capital, you sort of have to go through those traditional ways, and it's not as transparent and decentralized as the protocol is. You're signing a SAFT on a piece of paper off the web or something like that, and it's like those methods of fundraising, I think, need to be innovated to get to the level of where these protocols are at. So I think the on-chain fundraising model is a great step towards that direction. Now, I was looking at the portfolio of Decent Labs and looking at some of the recent platforms that you've worked with this on-chain fundraising with, and I saw Sarcophagus. Maybe you could talk about that investment and just overall the decisions behind that and where you see going forward after that's been done.
Absolutely, yeah, and I love Sarcophagus. They're one of the earlier groups that saw our model and wanted to collaborate and work with Decent Labs, and we've done a lot in terms of developing that technology and bringing it to the public, and we're really excited to see the project grow the way that it is now. Just to break down what Sarcophagus is, so it's a dead man switch, meaning it's a mechanism meant to be triggered upon the incapacitation of the creator. So an example of that in modern society that we're probably familiar with would be like a will or a trust or escrow agent. So what's really fascinating about that is when you think of a will, you're pretty much just thinking of limited to the case of, my death and what happens to my estate after. What's exciting about Sarcophagus being a DeFi building block and a, protocol is that we really have only addressed the tip of the iceberg of the use cases for it. New use cases are being found every day because you can integrate with it programmatically using other smart contracts or systems on the Ethereum network. So it's super exciting in that sense. And of course, with it seems almost every month now there's a new news article about somebody who wasn't able to secure their cryptocurrency, and after their death, their family, their friends, their loved ones, are kind of left without access to those resources, which is a terrifying situation. And I think lastly, super important, Sarcophagus is built on Ethereum and Arweave. And that means both on a censorship-resistant blockchain and data storage solution. So it's use cases outside of, say, where I live in the United States, or in more oppressive countries and governments. There's plenty of use cases for privacy and freedom activists all over the world. So it's a really exciting tool, and we're really just getting started with it.
Great point there about the U.S. and other countries as well, Parker. And so, yeah, I really think that's a great investment to make. Maybe you can talk about looking forward for future investments and 2022 for Decent Labs. What are some of the trends in DeFi or NFTs or in Web3 that you may specifically be looking for throughout 2022?
Totally. Well, I think what was really exciting, because I'm a total DeFi nerd and a finance and fintech nerd in general. And what was really exciting in 2021 was not only the establishment of DeFi, but everything that the NFT space and the art and the gaming world has been doing. And in the way that they've bridged exciting content on chain to consumers in a way that finance really still hasn't, bridged a gap to your typical layman to get them excited about cryptocurrency. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm really excited for this year, for me in particular, is how can DeFi learn from that and start building consumer applications that excite and inspire, regular everyday people. Just the way when Venmo came out and being able to split my bill after dinner was actually a big deal and felt really exciting that you could do this now with friends. And so I'm excited to see how do we take the powerful tools that DeFi has given us and start delivering them in user experiences that are exciting and engaging and, get people hands on the technology.
Amazing. And I anticipate so much more to be happening in 2022 than in 2021. And it's hard to even fathom because there was so much going on in 2021. There are two giant mini bull markets that just had everybody going. Is there any predictions or hopes that you'd like for, what would be the best case scenario for Decent Labs for this year?
Yeah, wow, that's a great question. So I think, years ago when we started in this space, there was this vision for transparent financial systems that could stop things like 2008 from happening ever again. And along the last 5 years, my journey in the industry, how I've seen things play out, I think, there's been bumps along the road where I really thought, maybe this isn't happening. Maybe this technology is just going to be, consumed and used the way that others have, and the kind of dream and ideological vision for Bitcoin won't work. And I think what's really exciting is 5 years later, DeFi is testament that, this is actually possible, that fully decentralized organizations and software suites and tools can be used to support a alternative economy. And so, I think looking into 2022 and a few years down the road, the usage of DAOs and improvement of DAOs as a superior model for starting and creating an institution in our world versus a company, that's what I'm most excited for. Because I think the decentralized future where someone has a few, freelance gigs working for a few different DAOs, whatever it is that they do, is actually a lot closer than we once anticipated. And so I think a lot of the most exciting things this year aren't going to be created by corporations or traditional startups, but by open source and online communities. And that's what I'm really excited for.
Very cool, Parker. And yeah, I'm super excited for that as well. I'm really glad you touched on that with the DAOs, because I think I completely agree. 2022 is going to be the year that DAOs take it to the next level in terms of actual organization and functionality for creating value from everyday people. And with more people quitting their jobs or losing their jobs, working for a DAO might be the status quo, by 2024. So I'm excited to see the progression of that, and I'm interested to see how Decent Labs, invests or participates in DAOs besides the DAO that your team is running as well already. So that's really interesting. Is there any last words that you wanted to mention? We are running short on time, but for 2022, for the prospectus of Decent Labs, or just what you're looking for from the communities and how they can get involved?
Yeah, I think as per usual, my prerogative this year is to hold and build, which is what we've been doing for a long time. If you're interested in getting involved with Decent Labs, you can join our Discord and chat with anybody you want on the team to learn about what we have going on. We're releasing a lot of new DeFi protocols in 2022 within the Decent Labs ecosystem. So we're really excited to announce that, as well as the tokenization of Decent Labs itself. So we have a lot of exciting news coming down the pipeline here. And, if anyone's interested, we'd love to talk to them and see how they can get involved.
Amazing. Thank you, Parker. I will leave those links to the Discord, the platform, everything in the description box below as well for the viewers. All the best with Decent Labs moving forward, and let's follow up in the near future.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ashton. Have a great day.